This past Monday, George Floyd, a 46-year-old African-American man, gasped, "I can't breathe," while a white police officer crushed his neck. Fires of protest were kindled in Minneapolis and continue to rage to this day throughout the country, in protest of both his death and, moreover, in protest of the intolerable inequities that people of color experience, the infection of racism that is in the air that we all breathe and always has been in our country and in our city. On the evening of March 14th, 1968, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. told a group gathered at Grosse Pointe High School, now Grosse Pointe South, that these conditions are the things that cause individuals to feel that they have no other alternative than to engage in violent rebellions to get attention. And I must say tonight, he continued, that a riot is the language of the unheard. And what is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the plight of Black people has worsened. And today we might add that the COVID-19 crisis is being borne disproportionately on their shoulders and in their families. King continued, "It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. It has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice and humanity." Pentecost was and is a Jewish festival, one of 3 on which all Jews were required to make pilgrimage to Jerusalem from wherever they may have been, whether Parthia or Cappadocia, Mesopotamia or Libya or Rome. It was and is a festival of the first fruits of the harvest. On the day of Pentecost that followed Jesus' death, a death by asphyxiation at the hands of the state that was more concerned about the status quo than about justice, his disciples were utterly astonished by a violent wind that rushed into the house where they were. This was not a soothing breeze, the type that makes you think, everything is going to be okay. No, this was a fierce, howling, startling gust, the kind that upends everything, that makes a total mess, that sharpens you from complacency, that sweeps away what you knew of normal. Although this Pentecost we are away, poignantly, from our exuberant pageantry and our glorious church building, even on this 175th anniversary of our congregation's founding. And although it sounds like pure luxury to our ears that these disciples in Acts got to be gathered in the same place, our observance of Pentecost today might be more like the first one than many others since. For life as we have known it so abruptly has blown upside down and all around, and who among us is to say what is next? We, like the first disciples, are acquainted with grief. We too have lost beloved ones to insidious infections in the air that we together breathe, infections of COVID-19, infections of racism. We too try desperately to protect those we love, and we know daily that the struggle feels so intractable. We too see fire alighting. There are 2 kinds of fire, and the Holy Spirit, as discomfiting as it is, shows us the difference For there is the fire of senseless, pointless destruction, which we do see today. And there is the fire of faith. There is the fire that burns for justice. It is this fire, we might say, that creates a beacon of hope. This fire, like the burning bush, transforms but does not consume. This fire unifies even as it burnishes. This fire creates a before and an after. This fire emblazons upon us a new normal. This fire inspires those who witness it to stick together and to become one. This fire sears away any sense of or even lingering desire for division. This fire kindles courage. This fire changes you, and you won't be the same, nor will you even want to be. This fire has changed us before, and it will change us again. On that day of Pentecost, when some in the crowd were hearing the disciples' newly vulnerable and connective words, they wanted to dismiss the phenomenon. Peter of all people, stands up and speaks the language of the unheard. He knows what it feels like. This Peter, remember, was the same man who, after his best friend and mentor Jesus was arrested at the hands of the state, denied 3 times that he even knew him. It is this fire that changes Peter, that transforms Peter into a man who cannot help but stand up as if upon water and say, "Listen, this is God at hand, who is pouring and will continue to pour the Holy Spirit upon all of us. Yes, we may see blood and fire and smoky mist. We might even say that the moon itself is turning to blood. Yet also our young are seeing visions and our elders are dreaming dreams." We live today at and through Christ Church Detroit in the dreams of our elders. We live today in dreams that far surpass anything our elders could have dreamed. Equally, we live today in the visions of our young. We live today and every day in the Holy Spirit, and let us not forget it. We are today uncomfortable, deeply uncomfortable, yet, my friends, we are not comfortless. For oh, how the Holy Spirit is with us. I see it alighting upon you. Let us remember that our founders too have seen this flame. They have felt quite a similar torrent of feelings 175 years ago, almost exactly to the day. 3 members of St. Paul's Episcopal Church, which then was the only Episcopal parish in Detroit, summoned the bishop with an urgency as if of fire. There needs to be, they implored, a second Episcopal congregation in the city. How about, they suggested, by the river? The bishop agreed, and thus there became a before in which Christ Church Detroit did not exist, and an after in which we now find ourselves. From nearly that very same day, there has been in this congregation a near incessant pursuit and constant evolution and a deep trust of the values that exist at our molten core. The values of reaching out beyond ourselves constantly. The value of extending warm and full hospitality, hospitality that continues in different languages, the value of worshiping God and praying to the fullest. We dare to speak. It is our legacy. We dare to speak and to learn and to trust that the languages of the unheard are our very own, and we are nothing without them. These values, these instincts, these urgencies sound remarkably like what the first Christian community in Jerusalem found themselves doing after the Holy Spirit had visited them, when they were gathered from all around the known world. And people were finding them every day, and they found themselves speaking and listening in languages they didn't even know they could understand. But they couldn't help but to continue and to continue and to continue in the teaching and the fellowship, in the breaking of bread, and in the prayers. Today and every day, come, Holy Spirit, come.